Hello, and welcome to Andrew Broussard Watercolors. Today, I wanted to explore some acrylic ink on some black mixed media paper. I have a variety of acrylic inks that I had picked up. Some of them are the Dale Rowney, the FW series, and then some are the Amsterdam that had went on sale or on clearance from Hobby Lobby. So they were super cheap, and just wanted to play around with them. I took a photograph of a very basic still life, and I'm going to work from that. I think first I'll use the dip pen. So I'm having a little bit of trouble with the dip pen with the flow with these. I'm not sure if it was just me not being used to it or what, but that's what we'll use. Just gonna kind of mark out where I want everything to sit. So yeah, so pretty basic. Just experimenting. It's Inktober, so I know a lot of people are playing around with that. And I also was thinking maybe trying to add cobwebs and get a Halloween type feel to it, but we'll see. So I have two pieces of glassware that I put out. Now, I really don't do glassware that often. I did have a glassware kick probably about like 2 or 3 months ago. I explored them in different mediums and on black paper. So let's see. I want to bring that up here. That. And then we have a curvature. Another curvature. And the cork. Okay. So, a few things that I'm thinking about. The fact that this piece isn't as big as the one on the left. The fact that you could see into the glass and see its bottom and the far ridge. Since this one's wider, it should have a higher vertically placed kind of semicircle. I'll go about here. I did put it so that the label was on the side. Map that out. And there's a piece of label that we can see through the other side. I had the light coming from the right. I have like two pieces of kind of heavy board, and what I did was lay the one piece down, the gray piece, or sorry, brown, and stood the black piece up behind it to photograph it, and I just pulled one of my lamps on the side. I unfortunately don't have much room in the art room, which is just a small bedroom, to set up a still life and to really work directly from that. That would be the best way to go about doing this. So it's not too bad with the glass dip, but I'm having to refresh it quite a bit. I think that India inks are really the way to go with the dip pens. So we're going to see its cork. It's going to come around, and it comes out here. You see the top of its cork. We see the upper rim. Okay. Anything else I kind of need to mark out or want to mark out? Alright, I'm going to clean this guy off. I have two containers of water, mainly because I'm probably just going to use black and white. I may use the brown for the cork, but try not to contaminate and mix things up. Okay. I prefer to clean these off in the moment. Alright, let's see. What do I want to use? I laid out some brushes, some squirrel mops, some riggers. This is just a small filbert. We'll go with the small filbert. The acrylic inks are definitely more opaque, a lot more opacity than the India inks. I'm watering it down some. This, I think, had expensive bath salts in it, and it kind of has the bath salt remaining around the interior, just speckled about. It should give some interesting effects. I don't think anybody would know that's what I'm trying to do, though. I'll have to rinse it out just to use it as a clean, fresh still life. Okay, I'm liking it watered down. And in a few, I'll put out some black ink. Just let that soup kind of sit there. Let's see how we're looking. There we go, we're starting to get some form. Let's look at this guy. Alright, so this has a rounded edge to it. And then it pushes back behind the cork. Down. I'm definitely going to come back into it and place more. Right now I'm still searching and exploring. Little highlights that come through. And I'm always a big fan of pulling down this white onto a table. That little reflection, we have a little bit of light coming through. Put out some black ink. So with the black paper itself, I kind of have a little bit of trouble with it, and a little bit difficulty describing the trouble in and of itself. Where the black, I'm guessing it's truly black, but it's reflecting light off of it, so there's yellow aspects and whatnot. You probably see it where we have the varying light on it alone. So I think to myself, can I put in black to darken those marks and those and to push those things away? So that's what I'm going to kind of attempt with it. Let me use the same brush. I really don't need to water them down. I'm looking for the type of black I can really have happen. It'll be interesting to see how this one dries. So I've tried looking up what the difference is between acrylic ink and acrylic paint. I think it's the viscosity of it, you know, like the resistance to flow or the ability to flow. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but I believe the acrylic inks are going to be more opaque. Have more opacity to them. They don't flow as good with the dip pens. In fact, the Dale Rowney, this is the FW line, and they have a line that is used for calligraphy. That's acrylic ink as well. So I guess that kind of drives on the point that it's not really meant for dip pens. I think some of it's used for what are those things that you spray? Why can't I think of the word? Airbrush. So I think some of it's used for airbrush. Alright, so my paper spot where the two papers meet is right about here. I'm gonna clean that off. And I have some of the Amsterdam burnt sienna. Let's see, I have light red oxide and the burnt sienna. I could probably mix the light red oxide or the burnt sienna with the black to make a brown. Let's see. I'm going to use the red oxide. Kind of see what it looks like straight from the tube or straight from the container. There we go. Now let's pull a little bit of black. Alright, so I'm mixing the two. Now I just had an intrusive art thought, and then my art teacher yelling at me very quickly in my mind, art teacher from college. Not so much yelling, he didn't yell, but I mean, I remember once moving forward in the picture plane for a still life in college and mixing white into it, and I'm doing that right now. And he had said, rather than doing that, mix a warmer color in or something like that to bring it forward in the picture plane. I think it was maybe like a yellow. So what I'm going to do is just push this in the light red oxide direction to come forward in the picture plane, as opposed to using just the white. Yeah, Hammy, I've been here, bud. You were taking a good nap, weren't you? Hammy was taking a really good nap. He was out cold. Yeah, I know. I'm telling everybody about you napping, dude. But I'm painting right now. Hammy's my best bud. Alright. I should be using probably a bigger brush, but just to make this go quicker. This is just a small, it says number 4 filbert. I've used filbert with oil painting a lot, especially in college. I think number 6 was what I would use. But this just seems small for a number 4. I'm just working my way forward. And trying not to just use white, mixing in those reds to move things forward. And I am going to mix it with the white though, since I have a limited palette, to make kind of a mimicking of a gold, so that we see this label here. And we see a lighter version of this up on this cork. Right about here, we're going to have to transition to give the curvature of it. We do see that light up here too. Now, since we have multiple edges of this cork showing, I'm going to make this lighter. Put my hand on it, it's stuck. Yeah, so I'm going to try to make my top lighter, a little bit darker here in value, and then it transitions to the side. I'm mixing some black into this mix. It's pushing a little gray. There we go, let's go about here. I'll probably come back over this so I can get a good few tonal changes. A little bit of the cork in there. This is almost pure white on this edge, very bright highlight. And we have the label. I'm going to look at the, let's see, okay, too wet right there. I'm not going to do any blow drying off. I'm going to look for a gray mix. Now for me, the gray mix is going to have an opacity to it. And then I'm also going to have to think about lightening up, or limiting the opacity. Yeah, bud. Hey. Not right now. And I'm going to look at it as a palette, the Zorn palette, the white and the black, how that's used to mimic kind of a blue. Yeah, bud. Not right now, dude. We got inks out on the table. Let me pause for a second. Okay, so I have Hammy on my lap. Just gotta make sure his tail doesn't get in the ink. Alright, so I'm gonna be painting and operating one-handed until he tries to jump out of the lap, but he wanted in and he would keep trying, and you would all hear me say over and over again, not now, dude, not now. So Hammy gets what it wants. This is on the inside. It's looking through. Okay, lay down. I have my paper towel in the hand holding Hammy. Let's look at some highlights. That'll be the easiest to do while he's here at the moment. I need to look up watercolor over acrylic ink and then acrylic ink over watercolor. The reason I'm saying that, hey Percy, I don't think I have enough room for both of y'all up here on my lap. The reason I mention that is this white being so opaque. If instead of using gouache or bleed-proof white at the end of a watercolor, you could probably just go with this ink, acrylic ink. It would turn the piece into a mixed media. Nope, you're not going on the table, but you want out? All right. There we go. Watch out. There we go. All right. Now we're back to business. Okay, it's looking good, and you can see here where I applied the black, it looks a little staining. Let's put another layer on top. Let's see what happens there. Cat hair. That shadow. Okay, and we'll, this guy comes out. That line's too thick, but now I have hammy hair everywhere. Let's just exaggerate the dark on the cork. Oh, still very soupy right there. Might actually need to do a blow-up dryer. But I'll prolong that as much as possible. Get a little bit more brown on the brush. That back. Okay. Quick dry off. Okay, so I just hit it with the blow dryer real quick. I am thinking that the second layer of black on top helped. Even though it's not creating like a pure black, it's creating a kind of a differential, and you at least see something taking place. And maybe it doesn't need that stark black, but it's good to see how it dries in comparison, and it lets me go back and forth. Now, if you're wondering what that noise was, I saved the litter boxes, the tubs that the litter comes in, and I use that for trash cans in the art room. So that was Hemi popping out of here to go explore something and knocking over an empty litter container. Okay. I am struggling a little bit with this corner, with this curvature. I'm going to bring that a little rounder and that a little rounder. And we'll catch some light through there. Hammy. Let's see. Okay. Okay. I want to exaggerate my reflections. It's just my personal preference. Whether that's right or wrong, no idea, but it's something that I really enjoy doing. All right, here's a little gray. Pull that over. Let's see how we're looking. Oh, I'm enjoying this. I like it. The one thing that kills me is these the kind of shoulders right here on the neck of the bottle. This would be the mouth of the bottle. That'd be such a weird thing to Google. Like, what are the parts of a bottle called? Like this rim that comes out. There must be different names for them, and then there must be different art movements that use these things. Like this ring that comes around the outside. I wonder what art movement that's a part of. Just looking for a little reflected light. It's funny, sometimes you'll hear like famous artists throughout history saying, you know, paint what you see. Others will say like paint what you know, should be there, to probably really butcher the anatomical professor of art, Hale. I think, you know, his books really talk about omitting cast shadow on life drawing and forms, because that cast shadow would make it look like unsightly hair growing in different spots, or you know, a mustache or a beard for a woman who does not have one, things like that. So light right through here. I tried setting up so that I only had one light source. I turned off the overhead light and the two others, but there was a little bit of window light coming in. We're going to start wrapping this up soon. Not sure how long we've been at it. I do have the label on the bottom of this one still, and you can kind of see that, but I think it's just something I want to leave out. Hammy, buddy. Other than doing a straight line, I'm trying to just break it up and add interest. Let's pause for another quick dry off. Alright, I'm going to try some last minute playful stuff. I have the glass dip pen. Try to get a little bit of black on here. Let's put scribbles as if there's writing. Well, there is writing, but just to get a little idea of that. By the way, if you enjoyed this, please consider liking and subscribing. And I have links down below. And I have the Patreon if you'd like to support this channel. I also have the Ko-Fi if you'd like to support through there. I have tons of exclusive Patreon videos. And yeah, I just take that and just put all that back into the channel with more supplies and more experiments. Let's use the white to sign this. It's weird signing right here with this. Let's see. Doesn't seem to work or write that well on top of the pre-existing ink. Let's see how that dries actually. So to carry over into my main mediums, I think that acrylic white ink would be interesting to play with watercolor. I just really have to look up how they interact and if one adheres to the other or vice versa, because I know that there's issues with oils and acrylics. So actually let me know down below if you've experimented with mixed media between the two of oils and acrylics and watercolor. Yeah, so I'm really pleased with how this came out. I set up a still life of a little candle and a candle holder. I might try that. The only yellowish ink I have is the India ink. I think I have some yellow India ink, so I might give that a go. But I hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you all soon. Have a great day.